Now I'm going to go into Command, and we're going to create a new variable. We'll just start the same way we did with the previous ones. Let's just pick a name here. It says upper lip right 1, so let's call this variable dragon underscore upper right lip 1 attach. This attach makes a bit of sense since this is going to be mimicking the other controller. Now the expression we're going to use is the cycle branch morph add frame, or CBMAF. CBMAF can be found in the C section here, cycle branch morph add frame. And it's pretty simple. It just takes one hierarchy and uses another hierarchy as the morph target. The hierarchy can be several hundred bones or joints or objects deep, or it can just be one object in one group. You don't have to worry about connecting them. I think of it as more of an Uber-Orient-like expression, since it will do all three axes of the translate, all three axes of rotate, and all three axes of scale all at once without having to make separate expressions. So the time we spent adding nulls in the scene is offset by the time that we would have spent programming expressions in the Command tab to do the same thing. So you see, it really does pay off. So we'll start by reading the syntax here. I'm going to position this in an awkward position here. I'm just going to pull the head up, or we can just pick the back here and just move it. So now we have two different positions of this face. I'm going to zoom out here with the wheel mouse. Pick the jaw, middle mouse, click, pick the jaw, hit the A key. We'll open the jaw. You see what's going on? Because we forgot to remove these lower lips and upper lips from the influences. I knew we were missing something. We have the jaws and everything added, but we don't have these new lips. So I'm just going to add these to something like body or head Emmy. There we go. And set the slip on all of them to 1 so they don't really have any effect on anything. So now we go back and animate. There we go. That seems to work pretty good. So the jaw is all working correctly. The head's working correctly. Everything seems to be going our way so far. Now we can get back to the task at hand, which is hooking these local controllers up to the controllers that are sitting out in the middle of space, so we don't have to always go back to the center of the world to make our expressions happen. Into the Command tab, we have our expression that's empty. We're going to use cycle branch morph add frame. This is dragon upper right lip 1. So middle mouse click, pick the upper right lip 1, and that is going to drive, which is the second field, the sneer right curve 1, which is the first field. Instead of just driving one axis, the X position, we're going to have it drive the motion. Motion is XYZ, scale, rotate, and translate. It's going to drive the motion on a certain frame, and this frame is going to be called capital now. That means it's going to check every single frame and make that frame match up. And the second one is the blending percentage. 1 is 100% blend, so it's always going to be looking and blending 100% of the value of our controller. So from here, right click right next to the pull down menu and make that an expression. So now when we grab the upper lip right and move it, the upper lip moves this correctly, and it looks like the upper lip is actually rigged to the face, even though it's not. It's just assigned to move this object here, and this object can be moved and rotated in any direction, so we can set bank, which rolls, and everything else. So this object is being completely slaved to the object that's doing our local deformation. That's pretty cool, eh? So back into Command. From here, now, since we don't have to do all 9 expressions for all 9 axes, we can just duplicate this and change a few things inside CBMAF. So upper right lip 2, attach. Let's open that, and let's make this a bit bigger, and make this look at upper lip right 2. Change the sneer right curve to sneer right curve 2, and everything else works as expected. So duplicate this again, upper lip 3, and change the curve to 3 and the controller to 3. So now, with a few strokes of the keyboard, we have made it possible to control all aspects of this curve this locally deforming curve on our character. So let's do the right side. So upper right lip 1, let's duplicate that again. Let's attach 1 on the right side, gets changed to the left side. And we do the same thing. Instead of altering the expression, sneer left, just have to do a couple of text edits here. Sneer left to upper lip left. Do this again, duplicate upper right, change this attach 1 here from the right to the left side. Edit the expression, which you can do up here or down here if you don't want to expand it and edit it upstairs. Just change that to left and make sure that the case sensitivity matches. And hit enter, upper right lip 3, duplicate that, change this to left as well, and then change the expression to left. You'll notice it's changing in here. That's because when we duplicate this, it's overdriving the effect. So it's adding 100% more when we have two expressions that have the same targets inside them. We didn't have to add any channels or anything. We just did a direct connection to these. So the upper lip is done. So let's change this now. Let's create a new variable. Call this one dragon underscore lower right lip 1 attach. Make sure I can spell and change this expression to the lower side. So middle mouse click on the lower one, load that actively to the lower sneer right curve, and then the upper lip right, change that to the lower lip right. So just pick the lower lip right one, change that so everything else is still valid. Right click right next to the pull down, and now we've built the other expression for the lower side, and just keep going through here. So duplicate that to lip 2, and then change these 1s to 2s. Duplicate again with the multiply key on the keyboard, change them to 3, and then change the expression to look at the third one. So now we can mirror these across. So it's lip 1, let's duplicate that, change this from the right to the left side, and then change a few things here in the expression to reflect that as well. So you can see most of this, looks like we don't have something that says sneer left curve 1, so we need to find out what it actually says. So you might have a misspelling here. Take a look at that, sneer left curve underscore 1. Lower sneer left curve underscore 1. If you have trouble doing that, you can just load this in and then copy that and then paste it in. If you don't know what's going on, turn the debug on. It'll tell you dragon lower lip left 1 not found or invalid. Okay, so it's not that. We have misnamed something else. So lower lip left 1, actually left click is just lower lip left. There's no 1 on there. It should be on the right. Now we can change that in here, or we can go into setup and make sure to mark that with a 1. So now we go back into command, and since we haven't changed anything yet, let's see, backspace, make it invalid, put something in here to make it reevaluate that expression, so now the expression works. You can turn off the debug so we don't have to see what's wrong with it, because now we fixed it. So right, left, so take the second one here, let's duplicate that, see if we have any more mistakes that we've got. Change the name of this expression to left, and then change all the rights to left in this expression. Okay, looks like we have stuff that works there. So duplicate the last one here, change the name of this expression, the name of this variable, and then change the expression again to match that, looking at the left side. So now we've defined all of our linkages in here in our character, and each one of these now moves in a local fashion. Oh, it looks like we need to change a few other things, but if you look at our curves are moving, so we can troubleshoot that. Let's go into setup, make sure the dope master is set to all items. Let's create some keyframes to move it back to its default position. While we're at it, let's check the effects here, and we have the effects happening before everything else, but there may be a possibility that we need the effects to execute in a different manner. So sneer right, sneer left, Ooh, looks like sneer left curve doesn't have an effect hooked to it. So what happened there? So let's see, is everything else working here? Oh, go into animate. I have upper lip, lower lip, lower lip. Let's make sure all of these, not curves, but bones work. Okay, so it looks like everything works except for that sneer left. So here's how you fix that. Let's go into setup, pick our head, go to the effects here, add a flex effect, which will drop another curve into the scene. Leave sneer left in here, but just call this something else. Just call it sneer left, and let's rename this new one sneer left curve. And we can call this one underneath it sneer left flex. If you look at the tools and look at curves, it will tell you which curves have which points. Sneer left curve doesn't have anything, but sneer left has all of them. So you can pick all of these curves and parent them to sneer left, and that moves the effects over, and we can get rid of sneer left. So you can right click, delete the selected objects. So all we have is the new curve objects with our old curves still sitting in the scene. So now all that's left is to change our settings inside the flex to match. So this is upper sneer left, upper lip sneer left, type is static, etc., etc. Go to the effects here, make sure that the bone deform is the last thing in the list so that all of our sneers happen before that. So now when we head back into animate, everything works correctly now. So we can grab the bones and they work. So there's a bonus on debugging this system, since it wasn't supposed to remove that curve effect and leave the curve sitting there. So setup, let's enter a keyframe for everything to set it back. We go into animate, we don't need to see these curves anymore. So now we can set these curves, all of them, to none. They should all disappear now. Well, if not, we can expand them all and then mark them invisible. Set them to none. There we go. So all we have left is our animation skeleton. Close all of these and parent them underneath the head. Let's close up some of these, clean up our scene. Parent them to the head. Let's get this skeleton out of the way. Take that out of the bottom. Put everything that we don't need to see underneath the head. So all we have is our animation controls here. Let's file and save this scene as LocalControl 6.